Hi, it's Mary Ellen with IT in Canada, and I'm here today at Enesco Canada speaking with Charlotte Clark, who's the Manager of Network Operations at Enesco. Charlotte, thanks very much for taking the time to speak with me today.
You're welcome.
I'd like to begin, Charlotte, with a brief introduction to Enesco Operations in Canada.
Okay. Enesco Canada is a well-respected name within the giftware industry for over 84 years. It was started in 1927. Enesco Canada is part of an international organization that distributes quality giftware to over 10,000 specialty gift retailers and mass market chains throughout North America and throughout Europe. Here at Enesco Canada, the Canadian head office, branch office I should say, we have about 50 internal users and over 40 sales executives throughout Canada. And my job is to support.
That's great. Thank you very much. I understand that you have implemented Office 365. Can you tell me what kind of business problems you were trying to address with that implementation?
Well, our existing our Exchange server, Microsoft Exchange server, was implemented over 7 years ago. And what I was faced with is trying to find upgrading the hardware and the software. And I was faced with very limited budget in order to find the solution. But like we had the budget restriction for this year. So what had happened was I'm part of a global IT committee, and they have a fairly new IT director down in the U.S., which is our head office in Itasca. So when I was speaking to the IT director, he was telling me about the initiative that he had to migrate the various email platforms that they have throughout the U.S. They had made acquisitions of new companies to introduce new brands to the organization, and was faced with trying to have one centralized email solution for various platforms like Lotus Mail or Novell, GroupWise, and also Microsoft Exchange server. So when he was explaining this to me, that this is what he was working on, his initiative was to have one unified mail service, then I told him that I was quite interested, because I said, was faced with trying to resolve what we were dealing with here in Canada and with limited funds. So his projection was that he was going to have the U.S. and I think France also was brought into migration over to the Microsoft Online services. So what I ended up doing was presenting the ROI to senior management as, that this would be a solution that we could take advantage of. The U.S. had contracted, one of the greater advantages for us was that the U.S. had contracted a Microsoft migration specialist, email migration specialist, and he was under contract until the end of May. And so I had only within 2 weeks, we had to decide, well, I should say more than 3 weeks, because it was in May, the beginning of May, that I was talking to the IT director. So we didn't have much time, and the ROI was accepted by the senior management, and I was given approval to go ahead and work with the U.S. to move our existing email accounts over to the new Microsoft Online service. So I was quite pleased that we were able to do this.
Okay. A record time for decision making, I think.
Yes. Yeah. It was, well, to me it was like, take advantage of what we can, and especially it saved us a large amount of money that we didn't have to contract our own specialist here in Canada if we could move quickly.
Right. Can you describe what the implementation involved for you here in Canada? I understand that, they were managing the technical portion of it in the U.S. with the help of Microsoft, but what was it like for you here in Canada?
Well, actually, what what I ended up having to do with the staff and the sales execs is that I sent out an email and told them that a decision had been made, a corporate decision had been made that we were going to move to this new platform, email platform. So basically I prepared the end users by moving a lot of their data, their email data, into PST files. So to reduce the amount of time that it would take for the transmission of the data to the new online service, Microsoft Online Service. The staff was, the staff here is very willing to take on new challenges, and I really appreciate this as an IT support person, that I didn't get a lot of resistance, and they were all willing to work with me. So what we ended up doing was we chose 2 days working with the US, and one day we did the internal staff, and the next day we did the sales executives. Basically I sent out documentation as to what steps they were required by the staff to log in once the migration was done. The US specialist, my Microsoft specialist, required only a PC, a dedicated PC, which I was able to provide, and through that he was able to log into my Exchange server, create all the new accounts for the Microsoft Online service, migrate all the old accounts from Exchange to the new accounts, and then migrate them over to the Microsoft Online server.
Okay.
So it was really excellent. Actually, the experience, it went very smoothly. I was very pleased with the the transfer of the data from one server to another. It was good.
When you are thinking about the implementation, what are the key benefits to you as the IT person, to the organization, and to the end users?
Well, there were quite a few benefits, actually. I mean, I have it written down here because they were, I made a list out of them, and basically it reduced our capital and expenses. We had no layout for equipment or software upgrades, and it was becoming an operational soft cost because the monthly cost per account was $5. And what this ended up doing was becoming under the U.S. umbrella, and the cost is being covered through them. So for us, it was a win-win situation. We didn't have to put out any money for hardware or software, and also services to implement the new equipment and software as well. And the other thing was that it unifies all email platforms, which means it also gives us one centralized service for email addresses, and also calendars and contacts, and it increased the storage space for data. With the Microsoft Exchange server, the 2003 version I was running, there was a limited amount of data space for each account. Well, the data space was increased to 25 gigs from possibly like 10. Okay. So the thing is that this allowed emails to be stored longer, and it also reduced the amount of time that I had to spend individually with each user to maintain their data, to back up their data, and also create PST files. They were no longer with the Microsoft Online service. Their free anti-spam and virus protection was with each account. So what that did as well for us is that I was already paying a third-party company to scan all inbound and outbound emails. So this was another cost savings for us as well. And backups, I mean, the backup is done by Microsoft now, and this is done daily, and that frees up my time, and also the time it took for my backup to complete every day. It took a long time. It increases the amount of time for your daily backup. Mm-hmm. And they guaranteed like 99% uptime, which, so far I have had very few problems with the service, the Microsoft Online service. There might have been a glitch maybe once or twice. since May that we've been using it, but it's been resolved very quickly. So I'm pleased with that. And also it supports future services that we offer. We offer SharePoint, and in the U.S. they're using a program called eCell for their catalog program, which is integrated with SharePoint. So down the road, when they're ready to migrate, they'll also add this service to the Microsoft Online Cloud solution. So there's many pros for having moved from our existing Exchange server to the Microsoft Online Cloud.
Okay, and how are the users managing?
Very well.
Yeah.
Actually, the only time we run into issues are sometimes they forget their password. And we have to reset the password. When we initially brought the service in, there was a restriction because we didn't actually have the Office 365 at that point. It hadn't been released back in May. So if you were an administrator, you had administration rights to everything. But with the new Office 365, they're able to partition into groups administration rights. So now I can go into online to the administration service from Microsoft and just reset their password, and it works very well.
Okay. That's fantastic, Charlotte. Thanks very much for sharing your experience with us.
You're welcome.